operating cash flow, 75,700 each year for the next 5 years. Everybody with me on that slide? No? Anybody unclear about anything? You good?
Yes.
Okay, so. Same thing there. So now we want to move then to free cash flow. What, from the formula earlier, what do we now have to take out? In year 0, we're not operating the thing yet. So there's no revenue, there's no profit, there's no nothing. What do you have to do up front at the start of the project? You have to buy the equipment for the 200,000. Everyone remembers this 200,000? And you have to inject the 70,000. So your free cash flow is negative 270. And most projects look like that. At time 0, you have a big negative. You have to make, so you have to invest the 70. And what's going to happen from year 1 to 4? Nothing is going to happen different. So you're going to get a positive 75,700. What's that cash flow pattern? What do we call that cash flow pattern from year 1 to 4? You got to make the links. The 75,700 each year for the next 4 years. What do we call that? Brother here holding his hand. And we call that an
Annuity?
An annuity. You actually have an annuity of 75,700 because it's an equal amount for the next 4 years. And then what's going to happen in year 5? So this is kind of useful to know. You start off with your operating cash flow of 75,000. That's your positive. Same as in the year before, right? And this is actually one of the most common errors students make on exams, in that at the end you forget to add back the return of the working capital. So over the life of the project, how much have you had to spend on working capital each year? From year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, how much have you had to inject in? How much you had to inject in working capital?
70,000.
70,000. But the project ends. What happens? The project has come to an end in year 5. So what's going to happen?
Get back the money.
You don't need to spend it anymore. So it's a recovery of that 70,000.
Okay.
So that's a very common error students make. They don't include the recovery of that. So your free cash flow is 145,700. So let's think of that. So how does this project look on a timeline? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the free cash flows? Year 0, what is it? Year 0, what's the free cash flow?
0.
Negative 270. How did we get that? So let's go back to the free cash flow formula, all right? So the numbers that go into getting the NPV IRR, those numbers that you're finding the NPV of, that you're finding the IRR of, you're finding the profitability ending, that these figures are what you call the free cash flow from the project in each time period. And free cash flow is your net operating income, or your EBIT, minus your taxes, plus your depreciation expense, minus the increase in CapEx, minus the increase in net operating working capital. That's your calculation. You have some subheadings, some people find these useful. Net operating profit or EBIT minus taxes is called NOPAT. And again, you don't want to be tricked by that. I mean, I won't necessarily do that on it, but you might see something that somebody says NOPAT, say, what the hell is that? But they're kind of assuming you don't know what that is. Net of NOPAT plus depreciation is called operating cash flow. So you have data on all of this. The equipment, 200,000. So that's your capex, that's your upfront investment. Has a 5-year life, 0 salvage value, which means that your depreciation expense is 40,000 a year. And again, what I have to think as a student sometimes, or if you're in a practical situation, you're on an exam, you have a problem, or you get a case study, there's a lot of data. How do you wade through that data? You're really looking for these items. How do I come up with EBIT? Revenues minus my expenses. They must give you data there. What are taxes, depreciation, capex, working capital? So that's been provided. I think everybody followed this quite well earlier, right? So in finding the NPV, we come up with the, first of all, when they break it down, what are the operating cash flow? That's the first part of the free cash flow calculation. EBIT minus taxes plus depreciation. So because the way the assumptions are written, your operating cash flows are the same every year. 75,700. Everybody follow that? Okay. And then the only real complication is the return of the working capital in year 5. So we can set that up then. In year 0, your free cash flow is negative 270. The 200,000 for the cost of the equipment, and the 70,000 you have to invest in working capital. Right? So that's minus 270,000. Each year, for year 1 to 4, is going to be 75,700 positive. Right? So 75,700. Oops. And in your final year, it's the same 75,700 plus the 70,000 from the return of the working capital. So you have 145,700. Okay, excuse me.
Add back.
Yes. So should they do this project? Is this investment worthwhile?
Explain.
Again, I think it's very important to keep in mind what we haven't said at all here. We haven't used the word profit. We've said free cash flows. So basically what it's saying, if you take this project, you're going to invest $270,000 up front, and you're gonna get money back from it in this pattern, should you do it. A naive calculation would say, well, I'm gonna get 178,500 more than I put in. So should I do it?
Yes.
Somebody shoot this guy. What's wrong with that answer?
What's wrong? Okay.
It doesn't take into account time value of money. We can't add monies occurring at different points in time.
Okay.
Okay, so we can't do that. So it tells you that the discount rate is 20%. I was given on one of the earlier bits of information, right? The required rate of return is 20%, right?
Okay.
What does that 20% mean? I mean, what is that really saying? The investors, where does this 270,000 come from? Whose money is that money?
More investors.
That's the investors' money. And they're saying, do not invest our money in anything that's going to give a return that is less than 20%. We need to earn 20% or more on our money to be satisfied. So all time value of money, NPVR, is checking. Investing 270,000 now and getting the money back according to this pattern, does that give you a 20% rate of return or not? So this is already at present value, so we don't have to do anything with it. What's the present value of 75,700 to be received 1 year from now? 75,700 divided by 1 plus the rate, raised to the time period. So it's worth 63 something. If you wanted to do this fast, how might you do it? You might recognize that these next 4 years are an annuity. So you could find the present value of an annuity for 4 years, 20% rate. Use your financial calculator or go to the tables. Okay, well, I can copy that down for the next 4 years. That's what that money is. This one, 145,700 divided by 1 plus the rate raised to the 5th power. So now I can add them and get a sensible number. The net present value is negative. You don't look happy. Huh? Why did I make you unhappy? I don't like making people unhappy. You're not unhappy. You're just analyzing. I like that word. She's a politician. She should. NPV is negative. So based on your decision rule, what should you do?
You reject it. Don't do the.
You reject it. It's negative. Why is it negative? Why are you rejecting? Because investing 270 now, getting 75,700 each year for the next 4 years, and 145,700, it's giving me less than 20%. And I need 20%. That is my minimum. Okay. What is my IRR? I'm going to my function wizard, financial functions, the IRR. I select all of these numbers, not the ones I found the present value of. I select the original numbers, and I get an IRR of 17.6. What is that telling you? Tells you if you put $270,000 on a bank today, next year they send you a check for 75,700. Next year, 4 years, and then finally, you would not have, you would be earning 17.6% a year on your money. How much you need to be happy?
20%.
So you would reject. Okay, so based on the IRR, you would reject. We do the NPV using Excel function. Financial functions. At present value. It's going to ask you for the rate, 20%. It's going to want the values. You don't put in the first one,
Okay.
but that's already at present value. So you do that, and then you add in this one. So your NPV is negative. Okay, so both are times. And then what's your profitability index or your PI? So PI, you want the present value of the inflows.
Okay.
So having found the present value, you're going to sum these numbers, right? That's the present value of the inflows. And then you want the absolute value of the initial investment. Okay, the absolute value of a number is when we take the number where we ignore the sign.
Okay.
So it's 270,000. So 270,000. So what's our profitability index? Present value of the inflows divided by the absolute value of the initial investment. And what is key about that number? It's less than 1. So the profitability index says we should accept projects that are bigger. It's 1 or bigger. So by all 3 counts, we are going to be in the negative. So the next topic we want to move on to for next class would be the weighted average cost of capital. And what are we getting into there? With the WACC, where does this 20% come from? Why 20%? Why is 20% the rate? Because whether you accept, because if this rate was 15%, let's say you were happy with 15%. Well, how would your decision rules change? The project would pass, huh? If it was 25%, it would do even worse. So how do you choose the appropriate discount rate? What is the right rate? Which is really what we get into with the weighted average cost of capital calculation. I'm not likely to be on island next week, so the class will either it's going to be online or I'm going to get one of the tutors to do it face to face. I will try to do it online, but I will be in a I don't know how it works, but I will be in a totally different time zone, so I have to
It depends on which lecture you're going to get.
Or you can just Zoom record.
Today was so bad. What did you do?
I believe tutors are better teachers than I am. Huh? I'll try it with online, but my only concern is because I'm going to be in Japan, which is a totally different time zone, so I don't know how that will work. All right, any questions, comments before we disband? Sorry? You guys are doing terribly on the steps channel. You guys are doing awful on the steps channel. It's time to step up.
The stop track?
Huh?
You said 7 o'clock, that's how you're going to receive 8,000 steps.
7 o'clock, it was at 8,000 steps. I get up early.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, if there are no questions, thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the week. Good luck on your midterms. You should be, and nobody thanked me for not giving you a midterm. Come say thanks now.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate
Make
it.
it look genuine. Make it look
appreciate
genuine.
Appreciate it.
But at least you can do that in your own time. You don't have the pressure of pulling out your hair this week. So you should thank me.
Pressure.